Hello, my name is Nick Walter, and I'm creating this tutorial teaching you how to make Apple TV apps. Yes, we developers can finally make apps for the Apple TV. So, to kind of celebrate, I saw this on the internet a little bit ago. This is an old Apple TV remote. So someone said if you turn this upside down, kind of cover the top, so you can just see the buttons. Doesn't look like a guy with his mouth gaping open. Just like that. And he's doing that. He's scared because he's getting killed off by a new Apple TV, which is awesome. The new Apple TV looks great. All the software on it is amazing, and we can be a part of that, which I just think is excellent. So I've kind of written a brief overview here of the stuff that we're going to cover. So we're going to download Xcode, make a really quick sample project, just kind of get you up to speed and getting some confidence. We're going to talk about top shelf, tap and pan gestures. We're going to do a parallax overview. We're going to go through some Apple sample code. We're going to talk about server client apps that use TVML, so you can kind of just make your app more web-based. Really cool stuff. And before we get into any of that, I have two things that I want to cover. So the first one is tvOS, which is the new operating system for the Apple TV, which we're developing for, is based heavily on iOS programming. So if you've never done any iOS programming, you're going to really struggle with this tutorial. So if that's you, don't worry. I teach a class on iOS, and I think you'd really enjoy it. It's the class that I made, or it's the class I wish I had when I was first trying to learn app programming. I'm a self-taught developer, so it's really down to earth. And if that's you, I'd love for you to go check it out. So go to ios9class.com. And if you want, I'm going to put up a promo code. Just use the code tvOS, and you're going to get a great discount. I'll give you like 75% off since you found this random YouTube video. But again, URL is ios9class.com, promo code tvOS. Okay, so that's out of the way. The next thing is, this is just kind of an intro basics into tvOS. I'm thinking about maybe doing a little bit more with it, maybe some other tutorials or a class. And so I'd love to get your info to tell you more about it, and to kind of go hand in hand with that, I'm going to do a contest where I'm going to be giving away an Apple TV, the new one. So please go to madeupbypeople.com/TV if you'd like to be entered into the contest, and put in your email so that I can tell you information about when I'll have another tutorial coming out, or if I end up doing a class, when the class is coming out. So if you're interested in winning an Apple TV, go there and check it out, or if you're interested in hearing more about me. So, okay, we got those two things out of the way. Let's jump right into the tutorial. So first thing you need is Xcode. So again, I'm assuming you have some level of programming experience with iOS, so you probably already have Xcode. But let's talk about which one we need. We need at least Xcode 7.1. So at the time of making this, Xcode 7.1 is still in beta. And the website right now for all things tvOS is developer.apple.com/tvOS. Okay, so you can see we got some great stuff here, and you're just going to want to go to the download section. Now, don't download this tvOS beta. I did this first. This is if you have an actual new Apple TV, you can put this on the device, but I don't have that, so that's a waste of download. What you want is the tvOS SDK beta, which is part of the new Xcode. So just go to the download Xcode page and download Xcode 7.1. And if this is later, maybe 7.1 is already up, and now it's like 7.23, maybe we're on 8, I don't know. But you at least need 7.1. So yeah, so assuming you have that, let's go ahead and fire up Xcode and make our very first tvOS app. So cool. All right, so I'm going to open up Xcode here, and I'm going to do create a new Xcode project. And this is great. Look, now we can make an iOS app, a watchOS app, tvOS app, OS X. So cool. But let's go to tvOS, and we want to do the single view application. Okay, so I'm going to double click on that, and I'm just going to call this first app. Dumb name, but what are you going to do? Okay, so we hit next. I'm just going to save this on the desktop, and I just first want to go ahead and run this so you can just see what it's going to look like. So by default, it's going to simulate an Apple TV 1080p, and just go ahead and hit play here, and we'll wait for this puppy to pop up. Drum roll. We haven't written any code. I just want to see that the freaking simulator at least opens, right? And we can see this work. So we're waiting. Come on. Oh, and here it is. It's loading, but it's mega huge. So if yours is way too huge like mine, go when you have the simulator selected, make sure you have it selected here. Go to Window, Scale, and put it down. I'm going to do mine at like 50 or something like that. Okay. So here we have our Apple TV simulator. Looks great. This is the background of an app that they have by default, and we can't really do anything here. So you use your arrow keys to kind of move around, and if you want to, you can go up here and do Hardware, Show Apple TV Remote. We get this little cool thing. It's kind of like a janky version of what the cool, sexy remote actually is. But for example, if you click on this and go to Menu, hit this guy a couple times, it will take you back to the Apple TV menu. So go and click on the simulator and use your arrow keys, and you see we can move around left to right, and if you want to go into something, you hit enter. Okay, so now we're in the settings, and you can see I can move around and hit enter on something to see more about it. To hit the back button, you use the menu on the remote. Okay, and if you want to kind of use, this is that like touchpad, and to simulate, hold down the Option key on your keyboard. It's down on the bottom left, and you can kind of like click and drag to make strokes. So you see I'm going like up and down, and I'm doing clicks in there. Again, I'm going up and down. So anyways, that's kind of how we can control things. Arrow keys and enter if you want to do it on the keyboard, and then go up to Hardware to show this Apple TV remote, and you can use some of these buttons, and again, hold down Option, and you have to click and drag to do stuff in here. So okay, now that we got that, that's looking fine. Let's go ahead and just make some sort of little janky app. This is our app over here, first app, but we don't have anything in it right now. So the thing is, tvOS is so similar to iOS, at least programming wise. Like, it uses UIKit, which is, you know, stuff like view controllers, table views, collection views, UI images, UI buttons. Like, it's going to feel very natural if you've done iOS programming. So, because you can see here, we got app delegate, view controller, and a storyboard. Well, it's like, that's what we get every time, right? Like, so it should feel really good. Let's go to the storyboard here. Now, a big thing to learn with tvOS programming is focus is a big thing. So in the tvOS world, focus is when, you know, the user has their little remote here. I'll just use this for now, right? And they're like swiping things to go somewhere. It moves the focus, which is kind of a halo around like a button or a row in a table view. It moves it from one spot to another. So yeah, you just got to make sure that you have an app that someone can navigate by moving to, you know, different places where you want them to be able to interact with things. So I think as we drag stuff out, you'll kind of get the gist of it and see what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to pinch on my trackpad to zoom out a little bit. You can see these view controllers are freaking huge. So let's just come on here and let's add a button to start. I'm going to search for a button. Okay, drag one out. I have to double click, make sure I'm zoomed in enough here. So there's one button. We'll just kind of move some in a couple different places so we can see what navigation is like in tvOS. Okay, so we have some buttons here. All right, let's go ahead and hit play. Get our simulator to pop up one more time. And again, using our arrow keys, you can kind of see how you can move through these different buttons. And it's a little bit, you know, you got to be very careful about where you place these, because, for example, to get to that button on the very right is a little bit of a challenge here. In fact, I'm hitting the arrow keys, and I'm not sure if I'll even be able to get there currently how our app works out. I'm going to maybe try with this remote. Do some swiping around. I'm having no luck. So that's definitely something big to look at. And for more information about how this focus works, go to Safari and again to that developer.apple.com/tvOS. And some really good reading documentation is if you go to documentation and then this app programming guide. Here it spells out a lot. So this is just kind of, intro stuff talking about whatever, blah, 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 blah. This is all the different stuff from UIKit it's using, which is great. But we go to next. Let's see, it's in here, building Apple TV apps. Okay, so controlling the user interface on the screen with an Apple remote. So this starts to talk about what's called the focus engine, okay? So, and this is, you can do some custom stuff if you want. That's more detailed than this tutorial needs. This might be something I cover in a class later. But this is going to tell you about how, if you're here and someone hits down on the remote or swipes down, how it's going to move to the next item. And there's tons of great stuff on this, how you can kind of move things programmatically, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, that's just where you can get more info there. To come back to our example here, I just want to show how similar this is to, standard like iOS stuff. I was just scrolling through here, like we have a progress view, we have the new stack views, which is great, table view, collection views, text view. It's just, it's all awesome. So I'm going to come out and just show how we could make a really simple table view here. So I'm going to put this to the right side of our app. So I'm going to drag out a table view. Let's maybe make it a little bit bigger than it is now. Again, there's like no specific end to this. I'm just kind of trying to show you this is just like iOS programming. So I'm going to do a split view controller here. And we're going to take, my computer can't handle these big tvOS view controllers. So I'm going to do control drag over here. Call this guy a table view, connect it, and you're probably saying to yourself, wow, this is exactly what I do, like this is almost boring. And if it is, fast forward a little bit, but I just want to show you, like here I'm going to see, this is going to be a Tableview Datasource and a UI Tableview delegate, okay, Tableview dot data source is equal to self, and self dot tableview dot delegate is equal to self. Freaking Xcode beta not giving me the autocomplete, holding me down here. Okay, so now that we got that in there, we can say table view. Oh, we at least need that autocomplete. Let's hit build here, see if that helps us out. Okay, my Xcode finally started breathing again, and I see I mistyped source, S-O-U-R-C-E, good. So now I'm going to start adding in, the table view functions. We need the self for row, and we also need the number of rows. So we'll go ahead and pull that guy out there. So I'm just going to put in 20 rows, and I'm just going to make some very simple cells. That is a new UI table view cell, and we want to return this cell, but before we return it, we're going to say cell.textLabel.text is equal to your mom. I always love putting your mom in a new table view. I have no idea why, but it's a thing. So we'll hit play here. Let's see what we get. Again, I just want you to kind of see this is not very distant from what you know as an iOS developer. So there it is. There's a little table view, and you can see we can scroll through all this stuff. Like, I think Apple's knocked it out of the park. Like, as a developer, if you know iOS, you know tvOS, like so much. Now, obviously, everything's not here. Like, you notice there's a couple of missing things here, but for the most part, like, we have almost everything. Like, here's segmented controls, buttons, like, oh, it's just very cool. So, all right, that's just a little simple app I just wanted to show you. Let's dive into some other topics now. So I want to talk about, let's do Top Shelf right now. So Top Shelf is when someone has their Apple TV, right, and they go and they hit the home button. So I'm going to come up here and let's say, you know, I guess it's the menu button, but so they come out here, they hit menu, and it's showing all their apps. We can have our app display some items, kind of previews, big pictures of the content that's inside of our app. So the current Apple TV, you know, the old one already does this with, like, you know, the iTunes app for movies. Like, it'll show some of the new releases and they just kind of slowly pan across the screen. But you can do this totally for your own app, and you can have it display whatever you'd like. So let me show you exactly how you can do that. And it's when you see up here, we have like the settings in our app. Eventually, there's going to be more apps across the bottom here. You can have at least 5 up here at the top, and if you're hovering over one, that's when it will show stuff up here on the quote-unquote top shelf. So to add top shelf stuff, we have our app here. We're going to go File, New, Target, okay? And we're going to come down here to tvOS, and we want to go to Application Extension. We want this thing called TV Services Extension, okay? And you need a name for this. I don't think the name is really all that important. I'm just going to call it Pretty Preview. I mean, really, call this whatever you want. So we hit finish, and it says, would you like to activate the scheme? I'm going to say yes. And you can see here it is down here. So what have they given us? They've given us this plist, and they've also given this service provider.swift, and this is the important one. So here, there's basically 2 things that you can do with the top shelf. And if you want more info on this, this is here inside of the stuff. Let's see, in the documentation. I'm trying to see. No, it's not managing resources. What page was that on? I don't think it was that. No, we'll come back to Parallax. That is definitely some great stuff. But let me just search for shelf. Well, I guess at the least we can come up here and search for shelf. But anyways, here it is. Apple TV, no. TV Top Shelf Provider Protocol Reference. That was a mouthful, huh? Anyways, this tells us what we can do with it. Basically, you need to have top shelf items and top shelf style, and that's what we have already here inside of our code. It provided for us. So top shelf style, we can, there's 2 options here. So I'm going to copy and paste this here, so we can, when we do the dot, we can show what's there. So we can either do the sectioned, or you can do inset. So sectioned is like you have a couple of items and they're part of a section and you'd have a name with it. Inset is just like a bunch of items. So I like the inset one, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do the inset there. And here, top shelf items, we have to spit back an array of the things that we want to have passing. And you can see it's an array of TV content item. So in order to create a TV content item, it's going to take a little bit of work, but I'll walk through it with you. So I'm just going to say let, we're just going to call these items. So item 1 be equal to TV content item. And again, we're creating this because we need an array of them. All right. And so when we do this, we can see in order to initialize, we either need to do this coder thing or content identifier. So we're going to do a content identifier. But you can see this requires a TV content identifier inside of that. So we go TV content identifier, do the parenthesis. And here you can see we can make one with an identifier and a container. Well, for the identifier, you just have to have some sort of unique string to separate these different items that you're going to have in your app. So I'm just going to call this my app.item1. Okay, and for the container, I don't need this to be inside of a container. I think that's more if you're going to be using kind of the grouped ones. So I'm just going to say nil there. And boom, we have our first item. Okay, so with this then, oh, I think we are forgetting, yes, an exclamation point. Thank you, Xcode. We can go ahead and just straight return this guy. Like we can go ahead and say item 1. but we don't have anything to show yet, which maybe isn't exactly what we want. And again, I think I need an exclamation point there because it returns an optional. But let's just at least do this for the time being so we can at least have something show up. So let's go ahead and hit play on our app. And since it put in this new extension, I've had real struggle with this in that it never finds an app to run. So I've had to come up here and go edit scheme. And when we have, this is the pretty preview extension or whatever you called your extension, go edit scheme and make sure you're on the info tag and run here. And then for executable, instead of ask on lunch, I'm going to say, hey, just use the name of our app, which in this case was first app. So once we have that, go ahead and hit close. And then I'll hit play. Okay, drum roll. Here our app shows up, our very ugly app. But if we go back to the menu, we can see we have this thing up here with these dots, but there's nothing inside of it. And this is our little item that we made, and it's just repeated. But again, there's nothing inside of it, so it's not going to do anything. So how can we add some pizzazz to this? Well, I think it's so cool how easy it is. You just say item 1 or whatever you named your little TV content item, and it has something called image URL. Okay, so all you do is pass this guy an NS URL of some image out on the internet. NS URL. We want to do the one down here with name or a string, and then it will go fetch it and load it into there. So let's just go to Safari, and I'm a big Trailblazers fan, so I'm going to search Damian Lillard. Okay, so I'm going to go to images. Ooh, that is a great, nasty looking Lillard face right there. I love it. So I'm going to hit save image as. I'm going to put this on the desktop into my app here. Okay. We're just going to call this Dame. Okay, we save that. So now we can come to our app here and oh, I don't need to save this. What am I doing? This is the whole point of the URL thing. Okay, Nick, come on. So anyways, I'm going to copy the URL of this, come back to our code, put it into the string, and hit run. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so our app loads. Oh, headboard quit. That doesn't sound like a good thing. We might need to reload this. Yeah, let's go ahead and reload this. I think something broke. Hey, we're on a beta, right? Things happen. All right, so we go ahead, we hit menu, and boom, there's our boy Dame, and you can see it's the same one, so it just kind of ripples through. So if we wanted to do a second one, I'm going to come back to the code here, just copy this. I mean, it's very straightforward. Let's, make this one item 2, change its identifier to item 2, and I'm also a big BYU fan, so I'm going to get a pic of Jimmer, images. Oof, that's a nice looking one. View image, copy that link, come in here. Oh gosh, that did not work. We'll replace all of this, and now when we hit play, and our app, no, headboard keeps closing. Beta probs, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna make it through, don't worry. Here it is. I'm gonna hit menu to come out, hit over with my arrows, and look, there's Dame. And where's Jimmer? Well, we don't have any Jimmer right now, and that's because we didn't put item 2 in the array. Okay, well, glad we caught that. Let's run this one more time. Sorry about that. Okay, so it crashed. Seems to be the typical thing these days. And here we are. Go ahead and hit menu button. Come over to this. And we have Dame and Jimmer. So we need to work on the size of these images and stuff. But you can see it's pretty simple to get stuff up there and showing. So that's good stuff. One thing to note, you can find more about this in the TV Top Shelf Provider Protocol stuff. if you ever get new content for your app, because hopefully your app is showing up new things. You're not always showing the same static stuff if it's up there. Um, but you can do this TV top shelf items did change notification to say, hey, I got some new content. So go ahead and refresh what you have going there. So, you know, the Apple TV will probably do an okay job of just refreshing stuff, like us just changing our code there. It went and saw that we added a new item. That wasn't an issue at all. But if you do get new stuff, you can use this notification to go ahead and update that. Okay, so we talked about Top Shelf. We've downloaded Xcode. We've made an app. Let's talk about tap and pan gestures. So I think this is pretty cool stuff. If we go back to our code here, I want to get to the big overall documentation. So this talks about how we can control stuff, right? The whole focus engine, we want to get where it talks about using touch. Okay, focus, focus, focus. So focused on focus. Okay, detecting gestures and button presses. I was in the wrong one. Okay, so Apple here has really laid out some very simple code to get to some stuff. So let's first work with taps, then we'll go with gestures. So let's say inside of our app here, we want to know anytime someone hits like the right arrow on the remote, right? So if, of course, the new Apple TV remote doesn't have this specific of things, but if someone taps on the right side, it infers it as a right tap. So we can add, where is this code here that just makes a tap recognizer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just paste this into my view did load. And so we have this tap recognizer. We're going to say whenever, so UI press type, we go dot. So there's lots of different ones. We can do down arrow, we can do left arrow, we can do menu, which remember, like, that's this button, that's the play button, right? And we have menu, play, pause, right arrow, select, up arrow. So I'm going to do one for the right arrow, okay? And you have to make sure you do a .raw value after that. So, and we're just going to add this on the view. So anytime they tap within the big view, tap meaning, you know, on the remote, that's going to work. And we want it to call a function tapped. We don't need to pass anything into it. So I'm just going to say func tapped. In fact, I'm going to call this right tapped. Okay, that's going to be an empty function. And copy that name, paste it in here. And I just want to, for the time being, print right, baby. Okay, so if we go ahead and hit play on this, build succeeded, but of course it crashed. Let's try that one more time. And here's our simulator. So if I come in here and I hit the right arrow, if I move this up, you can see it says right baby. And if I tap it again, right baby, right baby. And you know, I hit these other things, nothing happens, but when I hit right, it shows that. All right, so the top one, pretty straightforward. That'd be a great use case if you have like a game that's filling the whole screen, and or some other kind of app where you don't have the traditional move focus where you just move between buttons and, you know, table views and stuff. And then you can kind of do some custom stuff to say, you know, hey, if they hit this button now, I want to do this. Or, you know, the play pause button, that's a really cool one. I mean, I imagine for most games that's going to be the pause button, right? You're playing and you hit pause, shows up a pause menu. You can do cool stuff. Let's go ahead and take the code to do a swipe recognizer. Okay, so we're going to copy this, come back and paste. And you can see that this is going to do when it swipes right. If we come here, let's see what it's asking for in direction. UI swipe gesture recognizer direction. UI swipe gesture recognizer direction dot. Let's see what we got here. We got right, we got up, we got left, we got down. Let's maybe do swipe down. I like that. Okay. So we're going to do the swipe down. It's going to call the function called swiped. So I better make a function called swiped. Come down here, I'm going to say func swiped. Do this, and I'm just going to print baby, are you down, 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 down. Okay, that was awful. But you will see that this works. So here comes our app, and we'll have to use the special Apple TV remote for this. So we're going to come up here, and we're going to swipe down. Swipe down. Swipe down. There we go. You really kind of got to go edge to edge on these swipes, I've noticed, but if you do that, you can see we get it to print out there. Okay, so that's pretty simple, straightforward. Another way to have the user control your app, tap, and gesture recognizers. Let's talk about parallax stuff. So parallax is kind of this idea that you have images that are broken out into parts, and then if you rotate your device, like on iPhones, if you do that, you can see mine's all crapped up. But if you do that, if you have the right background, it will kind of like move with it. And on the Apple TV, the new sensor on the remote, if you kind of move your finger around it, not too much, but just a little bit, it will take like an icon, especially app icons you're on, and just move them a little bit. So to show you this, go to your simulator and hit the menu button until you come out to the main screen. So make sure that you're hovered over the settings app, and then go to your remote, okay, and just move a little bit. And do you see, look inside the logo, and you can see like the gears are kind of on different places, and as you move, you got to be careful because it might go to the next one. But if you just move just a little bit, you can see how it kind of has that parallax effect where there's different pieces and they move at different speeds, so you can kind of see that it's not connected. It just kind of brings things to life. So all Apple TV apps, tvOS apps, their icon needs to have this parallax in them. Like, it's a requirement. So if we go to Safari and go back to developer.apple.com/tvOS, you can actually download this cool little thing they have called Parallax Previewer. Okay, let's go ahead and download that. And this basically, it helps you to create parallax images, and can also help you like separate the stuff out of them to like view one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and install this. Yes, we want to put this in. Continue. Agree. I sign my life away. Put in my ultra secret password. And installation successful. Okay, now that we have that, if we go and hit the launch pad, you can see we have this Parallax Previewer, and you add images to here, and you can kind of hit play and see them. So I'm awful with design stuff. I don't have a great parallax thing for you, but I'm going to jump into the next section, which is the Apple code that they provided, and you'll see some great example of parallax, and we're going to drag them into this app. So just make sure you download this so you're ready for this next part. Okay, so again, let's go back to this main tvOS page. Let's hit documentation, and here you can see it's talking. There's kind of some different resources here for you. I'm looking for the sample code. This thing, UIKit catalog. Okay, so again, you just go to the main developer.apple.com/tvOS, then click on documentation, come down, and we want UIKit catalog here. So once you come here, click download sample code, and this is just an Xcode project that Apple has made that shows every piece of UIKit that tvOS can use. It's really in depth and it's really cool. So we're going to open up this folder and open up this project. Okay, so I'm going to go to our existing project here, hit stop on that just so we don't get the simulator getting confused. And without doing anything else, I'm just going to hit run on this. Hopefully it should just run on yours if your computer's how it should be in Apple, did their code right. This should just work. But again, it's just kind of a preview showing everything that you can do with tvOS. So we'll just wait for this puppy to load. Okay, so it looks like this is up, and holy cow, there's a lot here. So I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard. We can see the different types of buttons there are, ones with attributed text, how progress views work. You just sit and they'll load up. Segmented controls, very cool stuff. We go to the top because this is actually a tab bar controller. You see this stuff up here. That's if you use a UI tab bar controller, it will look like this. So we can come down to get into one of those, right? So if we're up at the top, move between them, hit enter on the one that you want to go to. So now we can see these different types of controllers. So here's like an alert one. It has different types, one that's destructive. I mean, really just take some time, go and explore this thing. Like I like this one, show secure entry. This is if you need a password for something, and brings up this kind of little janky software keyboard. I'm interested to see more about how people can input text into tvOS apps. Like if you can use your iPhone as remote and use that keyboard, I mean, that would be great, because the stuff that we have right now, this could get cumbersome, So anyways, you might have to hit menu to get out of this guy, but this is a great app to look at if you want to see how things work. And if you go back to the main screen, this now has added an app to kind of the main homepage, and you can see they have their own custom icon. And again, if we hold down Option and move, they have a really nice parallax here. And this is those kind of sectioned, top shelf things that I was talking about. You can see we can move through here. Very cool what they've done. And yeah, so I just think this is a good kind of app to look at for seeing all the different things that you can do with UIKit. So I promised we would get to Parallax. Let's get to it. So if we go to the, let's just go in Finder and look inside of what's in this app, you can see that we have UIKit catalog. We come in here. Let's go inside of the assets, and I'm going to look at scenery 1. Okay, so this basically consists of 3 things. Another great way to look at this is if you go to inside UIKit catalog, go to the assets.exe assets, and we click on scenery. You can see that it's broken into 3 parts here: the front, middle, back. So I just want to open those 3 things inside this Parallax preview thing. So I'm going to come here to Finder. Let's start with front. Let's grab the thing that's in here and plop it in there. Let's go to middle, grab what's in there, plop it in, and then let's go to back, grab what's in there, and plop it in. Okay, so now that we have these 3 things in here, you're going to have to rearrange them so that they're kind of in the right order here, right? But now when we do this, if we move our mouse, you can see the different kind of parallax effects. So you can see how the grass down here, right? Like if I move this one down, it's like, oh, sorry. I guess we have to put that at the top. Come on, there we go. And I'm gonna put this guy right there. You can see, it's very easy to see that that's kind of on a different track than everything. So you can kind of play around with this. You hit play, and it will do the rotating for you. But anyways, you can drag your own files into here if you want, and then go up here to File, Export, and save it as this LSR file, which is like a parallax image file, which then is very easy to use within your project. And you can take these individual things like this bottom grass, like here, you can change its size, so we can maybe make it like 300 width instead. You see how much smaller it is. We can change its X and Y position, so let's change this X to be like 50 over. You can just kind of do all sorts of things here. So that's a little intro to Parallax and covering the Apple stuff. So yes, now let's talk about this one's a little bit trippy. I had a hard time getting my head around this at first, but I think I've kind of got the gist of it. I at least have an intro into it. So with apps, you can totally do these, UIKit ones that have, all the stuff that we covered inside of this sample project, all these different cool things that we can do, and you can just make an app like that. It's totally fine. Or there's these new kind of apps called a client server app. And with this, basically, you create some code that you host on your own web server. It's basically, there's some JavaScript you use and also a thing called TVML. It's kind of like XML, but TVML, TV Markup Language, I think is what it stands for. But using these two things, you can kind of, quote unquote, make your tvOS app on the fly, right? So if you wanted to add new content or change the layout of the app, you can all do that on your server, and your app will reflect those changes almost instantaneously. I think it's very cool. So, but you do have to have a good knowledge of like JavaScript and stuff to get this running. So Apple has this whole guide on how you can set this up, get it into your project. I'm not going to go through all of that, but I am going to go look at some sample code that Apple has created using this stuff. So let's see where we can find this. I think TVML catalog using TVML templates. Yes, I think this is what we want. So go ahead and hit download sample code. Okay, again, that is just on the tvOS website there, and yeah, we want to download the TVML catalog using TVML templates. So this is just kind of a sample project that Apple's made that will show you how you can do this, and you have to use Python, and I mean Apple's done all the code for you, but you kind of have to run a server to get it up and running, and it will show what you've done. But it's a little bit of a lengthy download. You can see here 150 megabytes, but we're going to be coming in real quick here. So, hey, and if you have a second, go ahead and hit me up in the comments. Tell me maybe an app that you're thinking about building. I'd love to hear. It'd be really interesting to hear. So maybe let's have a little discussion there. But all right, now that that's open, we can come here and you see we have an Xcode project here. Let's go to our other Xcode project and hit stop on that. In fact, I might just exit out of that one. We want this dude to be front and center. So inside of here, there's a README file. You need to look at this first, and this will tell you, because if we try and hit play on this right now, it's not going to work, because these type of apps, they look to a website or some server to be hosting these files to display what should be in the app. And if we run this, you can see we're going to get all sorts of stuff down here about this not working. See, error launching application, ugly, ugly stuff. But if we come back to here, it shows us very simply what we're supposed to do. So it says, to start a local server, run the following command in the terminal within the client folder to create simple web server. So inside of the downloads, we have this TVML catalog, and inside of that is this thing called client, which has all the info that we need. So I'm going to open up terminal, and if you've never used terminal before, there's some commands to basically get where you want to go. So cd space the name of the directory you want to go to. So I want to go to download, so I'm going to start typing that, hit tab to autocomplete, then enter. Then inside of there, I want to go to cd, it's like TV something, right? So it goes in there, cd, I want to go to client, I think that's lowercase, yep, client. So now we're inside of the client. So I'm just going to go back to Xcode, copy this line exactly. This is the line to get your server up and running. And we're going to hit enter. Now we got the server going. So every machine should already have Python on it. So this would just kind of like work out of the box. And now that we have this, when we hit play on the app, dun, 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 you can see this. We now have this app that shows us examples of all the different stuff that we can do in one of these tvOS apps, but it's all based on remote like server code, which is really cool. Let me hit menu to go back here. So what's so cool about this is, I mean, you can put all this code up on a website and put an app into the App Store. And if you ever want to make an update to your app, you don't have to go through the whole Apple process of saying, hey, I have this new update for my app, make these things happen. No, you just update your web code and all of it will change. Like if we wanted to change these things to say Title 1, Title 2, Title 3 and put real ones in there, we can just change the web code and it will instantly work. It's very, very cool stuff. And you can see as far as like the project goes, this thing has an app delegate with, you know, some lines that basically just say, go look at this server for stuff, and that's it. You know, there's not a whole lot of other things we want to do. We'd want to put, you know, an app icon in there. So you'll notice if we go back to the simulator, hit menu a couple times to get back to the home screen. Here we have this TVML catalog. They have this nice, you know, background view. I think they call it the top shelf image. So if you don't want to have, you know, we did top shelf and we had the Damian Lillard and Jimmer moving across the top. If you just want to set image, you can put that one here. Let's see what the size for this is. Oh, come on, tell me the size. No, anyways. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not great with web stuff. So when I saw this stuff for the TVML, it was kind of like, oh, let me check out the sample project. And I was like, wow, that's cool that you can make an app and change anything you want on the fly. Of course, you can't get as completely custom as you can with like, you know, native code stuff, but I still think it's a pretty awesome gig if you're looking to make a tvOS app and you have at least some idea of web programming stuff. I feel like maybe I could piece it together, but I don't really know. Like, and Apple has this nice, you know, reference for the TVML, TVJS, that's the JavaScript stuff. You basically just need to know like these two things. But yeah, good stuff. And also there's this TVML kit that you can kind of then merge your actual native code with the web code. So very cool things you can do there, but more than we need to get into with this video. So again, thank you for watching. I couldn't be more excited about getting rid of this guy and upgrading to the new Apple TV. I'm seriously stoked. And again, I would love for you to enter the Apple TV contest to go win a free one. Again, and also by entering the contest, I'm going to email you whenever I have a new tutorial or if I end up making a class for Apple TV. Yeah, you'll hear all about it. So please go to madeupbypeople.com/TV and I'll talk to you later. If you have any comments or anything, leave them in the section, in the comment section of the video, and we'll see you later.